2015 to 2018. As you see here, the main Biodialog PI called Prof. Birgitta Kongris with her team. And here is the continue. Okay. Here is the main PI Biodialog from Germany, Birgitta Kongris and her team. And here is the first kickoff meeting 4 years ago. The main motivation behind Biodialog was study, ranking study that ranked the countries on the level of biodiversity informatics. There are three factors regarding to this ranking. The first one, the potential of the country to have biodiversity species. Secondly, the capacity of this country to generate biodiversity raw data, but with high quality. Thirdly, the availability of technical infrastructure to host, share, and manage the biodiversity data. Actually, in our Libyan country, we need to be educated, to learn more about biodiversity and biodiversity informatics. We have four objectives for Biodialog. The first one is to understand biodiversity and biodiversity informatic practices, but in our context, in our regional context. Secondly, constructing a new regional research network. Thirdly, contributing in the development of the knowledge-based society. Finally, bridging the data management techniques and biodiversity research. The project has three collaboration dimensions. The first one, the biodiversity science, which concerns to study the variety of all life forms of different plants, animals, and microorganisms, the genes that contain the ecosystem of which they form part. Actually, the scientists of biodiversity are interested in four questions. The detection of biodiversity. How much biodiversity species exist in some place? Secondly, the emergence of biodiversity species in that place. Thirdly, the consequences of biodiversity. What are the functions of those biodiversity species to the ecosystem? Finally, the conversation. How do safeguard the biodiversity to save food and to benefit from this biodiversity? Some facts regarding to biodiversity. Actually, we have from 5 million to 30 million species exist in the earth. Most living species are microorganisms. But do you believe that 1.75 million species have been formally described and given official names from 5 to 30 million species living in the earth. The most 118 top medicine in America come from chemicals from the fungi, plants from the species, not from chemicals. As you see, we have only 10% of species are described, and the other are not described. We don't know about them. It's estimated to lose 50% of the biodiversity species on 2200. Second dimension, it's related to biodiversity informatics. The biodiversity informatics is the bridge between biodiversity and the computer science. Biodiversity informatics means how to use techniques, algorithms, etc. to manage, to extract knowledge from the biodiversity raw data. As you see, we have big data, come from different sources in biodiversity, like distribution, experiments, satellite data, ecosystem data, functional traits, model output, collection data, etc. So the big data needs big data analytics, needs the computer science to support the biodiverse scientists to gain knowledge from these data. Our scientists in our regional area use this model, which is called publish and forget. Our scientists are trying to, when they have research question, they are trying to get data. The data come using instruments and experiments and store it in temporary storage. And they don't ensure the quality of the data. And they apply some analysis on these data and then publish their paper. This is the old model. This is what is called publish and forget the data and forget the publication. And they are always frustrated because data sets with errors, data sets are not discoverable, data sets are not understandable because they have many unexplained variables, difficult to use diverse data sets for analysis, no information about data sharing or even how to use these data, and data lost. Actually, this is the main best practice we gain from Germany. The new model, which is called scientific data management. The scientific data management starts with the plan. When the scientist have research question, he should plan for the experiment. He should answer 4 questions. What is the data should be collected? Where can I collect the data? Who is responsible to collect the data? And what methods used to collect the data? Then he collected the data manually or automatically. After that, he should assure that he has data with high quality, because garbage in, garbage out. After that, he should describe the data. Describe the data, he should add what's called the metadata. So I have 2 kinds of data, the data itself and the metadata describing the data. After that, he should store the data, preserve the data in a structured and unified data source. And then he can discover another related data set with other scientists to be integrated with his own, and here he can analyze the data, the integrated data set, and then publish the paper. After, as you see, after this cycle, I have data with high quality, stored in structured data, it's fully described and integrated with the other scientists' data. At Jena, they developed scientific data management system called BEXIS. The BEXIS system, it supports the scientists to manage the scientist data starting from the plan step to the analysis step. This system, it's modular, flexible, scalable, free, and open source. It focuses on tabular data. No multimedia data not supported by this system right now. It focuses on data integration and reuse, reuse of data structures and data attributes, supports user-defined data structures, dataset versioning. So you may have more than 1 version from your data and the views. Actually, we at Egyptian's Universities Network, we have a copy of this system to be available for the OMREN network scientists. The third dimension is intercultural communication. You know that we are from 3 countries. We have young people, so it was very important to learn, to teach the students the soft skills, how to communicate, how to build a team. As you see, here's the process of process optimization, team building, teamwork, goal definition, decision making. These are the topics that we learn to the both PhD and master students, and there is some session by young girls, German girls, to our students. Actually, during the project, we did more than workshop and more than summer school. The first one was in Hurghada, and second one was in Tunisia, in Hammamet. And one of the main components in the training is to train intercultural communication, and you see the percentage for attendees from computer science and from bioscience. We did many activities, because this is the policy of DAD, is to exchange scientists from and between the countries during the sorry, it's better. Yeah, during the first year, 2015, we did. Yeah, it's better here. Okay. During the 2015, we did the first kickoff meeting at Jena. Then we make exchange at Jena for 1 month for staff members and the students. And finally, in the first year, from the project, we did workshop at Asyut University. During the 2016, we did the kickoff meeting for the next, or for the second phase, for 4 days, and make 3 months exchange at Jena universities for staff members and the students. And then we did 1 month exchange at Enchance University, including the German people. Finally, we did workshop at Safakis University. During 2017, we did 3 months exchange at Jena, and then we did the first summer school for 10 days at Hurghada, and finally, we did another exchange for students at Jena University. During the 2018, we did the second summer school at Tunisia, and then exchange for 3 months, and finally, the Biodialog exhibition was just 1 week ago, because this is the final year of the project. And here are some photos regarding to the activities we did. As you see here, this is what is called the Jena experiment. It's one of the oldest biodiversity experiments in Europe. And here is the Whale Valley at Egypt. If you see here, this is a skeleton for whale. It's all about 35 million years ago. And here is the certified forest. This is the stem of some tree. It's about 30 million years ago. And here are the 2 workshops, the first one at Asyut and second one at Tunisia. Okay, I will finish. And there is a summer school, as you see here. Here's the opening, and here's students working. Finally, I'd like to share with you some research samples done at Enchance University with the German side. And finally, I'll list you some of outcomes of our project. Actually, there are 2 types of multimedia retrieval. The first one, text-based, and second one, content-based. The text-based is based on text. So you should type your query in text and search for the multimedia. And this kind of search engine have many problems, because the annotation should be done manually, and there is subjectivity, and there is synonym problem, because some word may have more than one meaning. So with the German side, we did it with what is called content-based image retrieval system. So the query, it's an image itself. The user just enter image as an query, and the results of the images come from the data set. As you see here, we did two models. The first one, it depends on the color only, and the second one depends on combined features of the image. And as you see here, here is the query, and here's the results. As you see, the combined features has more better results. And this is another experiment. This is the first query, and the combined feature also has better results. Secondly, related the BEXIS system. If you remember, the BEXIS is a scientific data management supports the biodiversity scientists to manage their data. This kind of system guides the scientists just by instructions. As you know, the scientists are different because they have different learning styles, different background knowledge. So we did this architecture with them. It's a master degree. By the way, one of the outcomes with the German side is publications. We did a joint publication, joint supervision. As you see here, here is the PEX's system, and here is our architecture. We get the context data from the PEXs and know the current context by knowledge base of context and ontology, and then recommend the most suitable learning objects to the scientist according to his style, and get the feedback from the style to improve the recommender system in the next iteration. Finally, the outcomes, as I mentioned before, the project is 4 years. A number of students participated in this project, 360 and 173 staff members. During this project, we got another project from the DAD. We did joint publication, we did joint supervisions. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We will relate the questions to them. So we go to Professor Faris, Boubakour.
You wave to me.
I have to.
Okay, first of all, I would thank organization staff for the invitation and giving me this opportunity to present the evolution of transportation research in Algeria through the laboratory that I'm managing with colleagues. In fact, my English is my third language, so I apologize for my English because it is not good as I wish. So, how can I resume or to present a summary about the story of research in field of transportation solution based on ICT? It's not easy to do, but I will try. In fact, we started as one team research in the beginning, and now we are a laboratory with agreement, and we expect to be a research center in the future. We are actually to build a file for the ministry. In the beginning, we have as issues how to plan transportation and logistics. And in the second part, we did with sustainability issues, economic, social, and environmental aspects. And currently, we are working about problems in transportation with the research of solutions based on ICT. It's paradoxical to say, actually we say the conventional solution, but a few years ago it was the solution. There is no innovative solution based on ICT. As you know, transportation has a lot of problems. Main problems are congestion, pollution, and accident. And our research deals with these problems to find a solution adapted to the context of Algeria, as you know, and how to make a balance with economic issues, to move, to have trade, to go to the work, and also to manage the congestion. You know that the most important cities all over the world have that problem of congestion. We have the same problem in Algeria, capital, and we try to find as a laboratory some more expensive solution, because of course if we have to build new infrastructure, it's too easy as a proposition, but how to make it ready, there is financial problems, of course. Then the laboratory asks also a lot of questions of why there is a lot of huge use of private cars. Our hypothesis is how to improve public transportation instead of using a private car. A lot of questions, a lot of projects have done in this field by our laboratory. The main solution, or the main how to explain that, is the growth, the income growth, of course, and there is also a type of urbanization and urban sprawl in general. You have in the map, the map of Algiers, which is growth and growth every year. Now, the current project that we are working on in our laboratory is how to use the ICT as a solution, because now we have internet, we have application, we have computer science, and we are now, currently we are 22 researcher members and 12 PhD candidates. So we have the resource for searching solution. And we find that our team currently, which is named ICT, Transportation Intelligence Transportation System and Smart Mobility, try to find solution for these aspects. And in Algeria, we are famous laboratory, and we give some solution to the official, to the Ministry of Transportation and Public Works. We think that we have to develop some aspects in the electronics and computer science, because in fact we are using technology which are produced in Europe or in developed countries. And in our laboratory we propose solution, but not to realize, for example, some processor or technology like that. But in computer science, as you know, it is not very difficult to make an algorithm or to research for a program or application or something like that. So in our laboratory, we did a lot of applications, simple application for. I want to go in details in some in this field, but we have did some solution in this field. As you know, intelligent system transportation is the capacity to system to find adaptation, to find reaction, and this term is used when when the solution is automated, automatic solution. We use a lot of technologies of ICT, like broadband, like wireless communication, hardware, software, and GPS, Galileo, GNOS, or other technology for location, and of course some sensors. Between brackets, we expected to have a center of research by including some teams which are specialized in the domains of electronics. We have this project at the ministry. So, ITS improve a lot of aspects in transportation, management of traffic, road safety, security also, with camera, video camera, and so on. We can improve, of course, mobility management and efficiency in energy consumption. Applications of there's technology in ITS. We have electronic payment by using, for example, tolling payment without stopping, or bypass, for example, the Pass Navigo used in France. We are developing some kind of ticking, electronic ticking for the national company. We have also a lot of application in fleet management and road safety. I would like to make just a little focus about road safety in Algeria. It's a very important topic for the politics, for decision maker, and we have been chosen as a national laboratory with a lot of projects in this field, and we find that some ITS can give us a lot of solution, both in active security or safety and passive safety. You have on the slide some examples. The most important is the EDI, which is automatic detection of incidents, which is in National Center of Road Management in Algiers. The perspective in this domain, which is important field for our laboratory, and we ask for grants for that, is how to, of course, I forgot to say that we had a lot of projects with international partners funded, especially by the European Union. I have personally did a few projects in the field, and we have learned a lot in this framework. For future, we think that which are access for our laboratory now, intelligence infrastructure and cooperative conduct. I mean the communication between vehicle and vehicle infrastructure, and also smart car, as Google Car, for example, or Tesla or others. The objective for our laboratory is not to invent or to build a car or driverless car, but to find what the impact for using this type of car in terms of equity, exclusion, safety, and on other ones. Very briefly, this is the framework of research actually for our laboratory. We have conventional approach, classical approach, but now we are working on ICT solution approach for dealing with the problem of congestion and traffic jam, and also to find solution for inadequacy and mobility and accessibility, and also for the disconnected mode of transportation, because we found that if we want to develop public transportation versus private car, we have to make all other modes connected. Then the person will make the shift from the private car to the public transportation. We have also the big issue, which is road accident. We have some solutions, but the most important part is embedded in car. So as laboratory, we don't find the technology, because the car, when we arrive, the system is embedded. but we can give advices, okay, advices for authorities to make some regulation to deal with that. Now we have the smart mobility, which is another, I can say, layout, yeah, to take part of transportation by the integration of demand from the person. And the smart mobility can be done by using smartphone, internet, by computer, and so on. We can achieve sustainability challenges. Of course, education and research are important. Our role within the laboratory is to encourage research and also training and education. We deal with a Master of Transportation Logistics in the faculty, so we support them in thesis and so on. And finally, smart mobility, ITS, is a part of smart city or smart territory, and we are searching in that direction. But not only, I will finish in a few seconds. We are also working on social and participative solution. Maybe, as we can say, by some others say, we are trying to find social solution based on this back to the future solution by using some techniques which are very, very old, but maybe they will be used in the future. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks, Professor Faris.
You are welcome.
Now we have the third speaker from Jisc, Mr. Wilkinson, please.
I'm just working on so I can make sure that I can cover everything that I want to. But first, thank you to Youssef and the organising committee of e-AGE for inviting Jisc here to this beautiful place, and for Jisc to showcase our work, but also to highlight some opportunities for collaboration both with research and education networks, but also your communities. This is what I want to cover, all being well in 10-15 minutes or so. I've split my presentation into two parts. We've been here, Jisc have been here at e-AGE the last 2 years, and we've presented on transnational education and our work in that area. But I thought it would be good really to touch base on Jisc, the organisation itself, because we have changed quite significantly over the last few years. So I thought I'd give you an update first on what we now look like. And then I'll come on to transnational education and just give you a quick look at one of the projects that we're working on in the OMREN region. So Jisc, a couple of facts about Jisc. Jisc, we call ourselves the power behind world-class education and research. And the first thing to note is that many people still know us as Janet, and that's the Janet network. We've moved away from this over the last few years. We are now Jisc, the UK's OMREN, Research and Education Network, that runs the Janet network. So Jisc that runs Janet. Secondly, confusing as this may be, Jisc does not stand for anything. It used to stand for, historically, the Joint Infrastructure Systems Committee, which was a board that universities used to bid to get computers to work on their research. I think we've moved on from that somewhat over the last few years, so Jisc doesn't actually stand for anything anymore. We're just Jisc. So what are we? We are a charity, not-for-profit. We're a member of JAILT. We cover both higher education and further education and skills, so post-16 education. We're moving to be a membership organisation, So our universities, our HE members are now paying us a subscription, and our further education members will move to that next year in 2019. We do have the majority of funding from government at the moment, but as that declines, the membership obviously will increase. We're a large organisation. We have about 600 staff. People don't realise how big we are. And one of the reasons for that is we're quite unique as a research and education network, in that we bring together both the network infrastructure and services on top of that, but also the digital content. We bring those two things together. So quite simply on this slide, working from the right-hand side, we operate the shared digital infrastructure and services. So we operate the Janet network. We operate cybersecurity, trust and identity, shared data centres, VC, all those services on top that you would expect us to do as a research and education network. The second thing that we do, and many other OMRENs do too, is we negotiate sector-wide deals. We aggregate demand from our community, and we broker arrangements with both IT vendors and software providers such as Microsoft, Google and Amazon, but also we do the same thing with commercial publishers and content providers, so people like Springer, Wiley and OUP. And for this second part, where we negotiate with content providers, commercial publishers, we save our community about $130 million US a year. So it's quite a significant amount. And thirdly, we provide advice and guidance to all of our members, our universities and our colleges. This is what we look like in terms of numbers. We connect all of our public universities and colleges. We also connect our libraries, our research institutions and museums, and that equates to essentially about 18 million end users. This is what the Janet network looks like, and at this point it's really important to explain that I don't have a technology background or a networking background, so please don't ask me any complicated questions. I've got plenty of colleagues in Jisc who do know what they're talking about. So if you have any technical questions, I can direct those afterwards. So this is what our Janet network looks like. We have 9,000 kilometres of leased line fibre on a long-term lease. We operate layer 2 optical equipment. Our core backbone is currently 400 gig between our main conurbations, our main cities, and we're currently upgrading that to 600 gig. In terms of traffic, this is our monthly recorded traffic for about the last 9 years, and I've showed this for two reasons really. It demonstrates over that period that there's significant and ongoing growth of our network, and will continue to grow in our projections, but also it eloquently demonstrates the peaks and troughs at certain times during the year. So you'll see the traffic dropping off in those troughs during the summer times, where students go home and are not using Netflix and Amazon. But therefore that shows the significance of our network in terms of research, not only research but education as well. I'm not going to dwell too much on this diagram. It's our external connectivity, and it's pretty complicated. Just really to say that this just shows our external connectivity and our global transit. It shows the large number of peerings that we have. We have over 500 peerings to 300 organisations. And you'll see our connectivity there to other research and education networks across the globe is through Dialog. So we are more than just the network, as I sort of alluded to, with our sort of uniquely integrating certain elements. So we offer our network and services in terms of just technologies, and those are some areas there. We have a section of our work on digital resources and digital content and library services, and that is our digital resources part. But we also anticipate what our community may need for the future, by working with them in consultation, in a co-production area of work, and that's our digital futures, essentially our R&D arm. So just wanted to draw your attention to a couple of things under futures. We are working on, and just rolled out, just launched our National Learning Analytics Programme. We're probably the only country in the world to do this nationally, and as I say, that's recently gone live with our universities. So I can provide more information on that if you're interested. The second is a major new project that we have on the Intelligent Campus, using data to make smarter campuses and colleges and improve the student experience. And really that student experience and enhancing skills and digital skills is really core to the work that we're doing at Jisc. I spoke earlier about a couple of areas that I wanted to highlight that are possible areas of collaboration for both OMRENs and your communities. One of those is in the trust and identity area. So we have a number of services for our own members, our own Jisc members. So we operate the UK Access Management Federation. We are the national roaming operator for EduRoam. We operate a certificate service for encryption of web and email services. And we operate Ascent, single sign-on within, across and between organisations. So other services that we offer that may be applicable to other OMRENs and your own communities are two services. The first is a managed federation service for smaller OMRENs or those wanting to set up an identity federation. We can do that in conjunction with you, and we're currently working with JUCC in Hong Kong, we're working with RAYANTS in New Zealand, and the Ubuntu Alliance, as you'll have heard about earlier. The second is Liberate, which is a managed federation service for access management, and again we can help you organise that for your own communities, with yourselves as OMRENs being resellers. So any information on those, please come back to me. I have a colleague in the room, Mark Gibbswade, that knows all about both this and library services as well. So Mark can give you some of the details. You won't be surprised that we do quite a bit of work on cybersecurity, and I've put in the web address there because we have quite significant resources on our website to do with cyber. But a couple of things that we can offer and work with you on are penetration testing, so simulating attacks on your members' networks, and we're actively looking for OMRENs to participate in working with us on that. The second is DDoS mitigation, defending your customers against DDoS attacks, and we're actively looking to have a global approach with that. So again, please come back to me if anyone's interested in either of those pilots and services. Moving swiftly on to the transnational education part of this talk, and this is something, as I said, we've come to e-AGE with for the last couple of years. But I have good positive news to share with you on where we've reached, particularly in this region. So TNE, just very quickly, cross-border, borderless, offshore education is where one country is delivering education in a different country. That may be through an independent relationship, so as an international branch campus, or through distance and e-learning, or it could be in partnership and collaboration with universities in that country, with joint programmes and etc. Usually it can be a combination of modes in terms of blended learning, and we've talked again about blended learning earlier on today. So this is really, again, to what we said earlier on, this is really an area that we do need to collaborate in transnational education. Why do we need technology? We need seamless, efficient and reliable connectivity across borders. We need to be able to support different teaching types, different teaching styles, collaborative and independent learning, and across all of those different forms of TNE, from distance learning to that independent branch campus. We need to support student needs. Student demands are 24/7 access connectivity and access to services, whether that might be on or off campus. And we need to support them in that to make sure their student experience for a T&E student is the same as that would be in the home country. And we also need to support global administration and support systems, so student records, exams and enrolment systems. I'm very briefly going to touch on UK facts and figures. We're very lucky in the UK that our universities have to report their T&E activities on an annual basis. So we have more than 700,000 offshore students being educated by the UK, and we deliver T&E in all but 15 countries across the world. It's been a significant growth area. It's seen growth of about 17% since 2012, 2013, although that growth is slowing slightly now. We are second behind the US in our delivery of T&E, and about 85% of all UK universities are engaged in this area. So this is why it's so important for us and us as an OMREN to be able to deliver and support that. In terms of this region, a significant amount of T&E again. This is data from October 2018 of UK higher education T&E data in the Arab states. The Middle East market now is stabilising. You hosted the fourth highest number of UK students, about 11% of our students in this region across 14 countries. And the growth in this area has been about 31% since 2012-13. It's the greatest growth of all the areas in the world. So this is why it's important for us to collaborate with you specifically. Second to Asia, you have the most independent branch campuses in this area. One, okay, that's fine. So very quickly, on the case study that we've been doing in the UAE, we have 11 branch campuses in Dubai from the UK, all currently connected to commercial providers, and 2 have really requested to move to better, more efficient connectivity. So we've been working with Anchor across multiple stakeholders, ourselves, Anchor, Jisc, Internet2, OMREN, and all of our universities, and to develop different options for connectivity. Very quickly, this has been great because we've developed really good relationships across all stakeholders. We're able to start building the capacity and helping Anchor in extending their customer base, extending their services. We've got longer term planning, and Jisc has a facilitation role. Challenges, multiple stakeholders, it's very timely. It's been taking a while to get all the requirements for the universities, and we've had to develop new business models and look at options for financial sustainability. And this is an area that I can talk to you more about, and I'll keep you informed as we progress through the pilot project. I will skip the next 2 slides, but it's about Jisc support and Jisc support. Just to say, in the Jisc Connect, on page 40, there's sort of an introduction to T&E as well. So if you need further information, there's more information in there, so we have to go through it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Yusuf. Our last presenter for this session today is Dr. Messaoud. Well, Dr. Messaoud asked for an hour for speech, but then we have reached to an agreement that he will deliver his talk in 15 minutes, and then he will extend an invitation to his SESAME project.
Thank you very much. Actually, it needs more than 1 hour and a site visit to understand, to maybe not say that SESAME is a seed, but SESAME is, as states for synchrotron light, for experimental science and applications in the Middle East. So I want to start with a say, which says, good seeds give good fruits, tasty fruits. So coming back to the session of this morning, people were talking about education. Good education will lead to a very good research style and scientific research outcome at the end. So please let me just start with, on behalf of the SESAME staff who contributed to this nice facility. First of all, I will go really very briefly so that you will not confuse between seed and a synchrotron research facility. Then I will just go through the machine itself, the parameters, and at the end some examples, or just one example, and I will conclude. So most of you, they know the history about X-rays, how they just really, how we know about the X-rays. Thanks to Röntgen, who discovered when he's taking pictures, or he left the film of the camera in a place in his laboratory, and when he was coming back, he saw spots on the film, and then it turns out, after doing some research, that these are X-rays. So he took the hand of his wife and he passed through the X-rays, and you can see also the ring on the picture there. So then after a while, in the 1920, von Lowe took the first diffraction patterns, and we had to wait until the 70s to see really the first synchrotron radiation facilities, or we call it also synchrotron light sources. In the late 90s, we went step by step from the first generation to the second, and now the third generation starting 2000. Then nowadays we are upgrading to a fourth generation, and free electron lasers also, which are not my topic today. So I just try to give an overview what is a synchrotron. In reality, we are dealing with electrons. What we do, we generate electrons, we accelerate them in a circular way, and then while these electrons are really changing the direction, they emit photons. And the gamma of the photons, the energy gamma of the photons ranges from, let's say, ranges from the infrared up to hard X-rays, which we will use then for doing different kind of experiments. So what is the difference now about the synchrotron? Why we use synchrotron lights and not all the lights that we have in the laboratories? So it has, as I just mentioned, a broad spectrum from the infrared up to hard X-rays, passing by ultraviolet and visible light. It has a higher flux. We can really detect very small amounts down to ppb concentration per billion. The high brilliance and also high stability. More than that, we have tunability of the energy. We can choose the energy that we want. We are not really limited by one energy. And many things among that. So, moreover, when you get to science, with synchrotron light, we can see the invisible, what we cannot see by eye, or also by a simple magnifying glass or light microscope. We can go down to the atoms, to the level of the atoms and molecules. Okay? So, what are the applications in this that we can really use in this synchrotron facility? What we can do at this synchrotron? As I mentioned, we are looking at the atoms, and whatever we have a material with atoms, molecules can be probed at the synchrotron. Then it depends on the technique that you have to choose, or the scientist has to really choose properly to get the better data. So it is applied for life science, for chemistry, for biochemistry, for chemistry, physics, condensed matter, let's say environmental science, nanoscience, health, cultural heritage. I will show just a small example about that, which has been done at our facility, and also in the industry part, like pharmaceutical studies and so on. When we see the distribution of synchrotrons around the world, you can see that they are more concentrated on the US, on the America, Europe, and in Japan. And then one heart-beating spot here that you see, which is now SESAME. It's really a heart-beating spot that we hope that it boosts the research or scientific research in the region. So this is just to explain it. Excuse me, it's just a little bit physics, but I will make it general. So we produce electrons here. We accelerate them into a first boosting machine where they are accelerated to the speed of light, then injected into a storage ring. And here, while these electrons are deviating, they will emit photons. And these photons are the ones used in the beamlines. We call beamlines, and they are used for different kind of experimental, different kind of techniques or methods.